Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, a show that celebrates all things nerdy. You'll get an insider's look into the world of comic books, graphic novels, TV and film, gaming and pop culture, as well as the technologies that drive all of it. Now, are you ready to get nerdy? Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, the show about all things nerdy. We discuss nerd news, movies, TV shows, games, comics, and so much more. I'm Brian.
I'm Chad.
Say your names. Say them. Say your names!
I said my name.
I'm Chab.
I'm Damien.
And brace yourselves, folks, because we're about to get nerdy. Now, before we jump into our topic with our amazing guest panelists this evening, we would like to give a huge, enormous, erodiously growing shout out to the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. It is an amazing community to be a part of. And my goodness, there are what shows, what topics don't we cover in this network? We have shows about watches. We have shows about plethora of shows about comic books, shows about just being creative. We have shows about drinking, everyone. So tonight we are last on the schedule for this evening, and then tomorrow morning we will be tackling the day with the Brian K. Morris for Nevermind the Furthermore. And we are proudly a part of this wonderful community called the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. And now, without further ado, we would like to introduce some amazing folks. First on the list is the splendiferous, amazingly talented Jody McPhee.
Where?
Joe, I'm going to give you full screen. You tell us why you're so great and where we can find your work, sir.
I don't know. I've been taking this invention called Great Pills, but beyond that, I am Joe D. McPhee. I'm the president of CGC Studios. I am the creator of Amazonia AWF and Primetime Saturday Night. I do have my own show from the Desolate Small Press Publisher right here on the Rising Tide Network. And, I do publish comic books. So I'm just here as kind of like a reference point, I guess, for tonight.
Awesome. Well, it is wonderful to have you. We also would like to bring in the amazingly bald, the Eric Hawkins. Look at you, sir.
Beautiful.
I'm here. Tell us why you're so great, where we can find your work, good sir.
Well, since I usually don't get on cam on Tuesday nights, I had to shave today, and I usually only shave on Thursdays. But I'm Eric S. Hawkins. You can find me anywhere on social media. Just look up my name. I'm a comic book creator, best known for the Zombieful World of Oz. That right there. That's.
And you've got a campaign coming up here soon.
Yeah, we're going to launch issue 4 on April 8th.
Nice. Now, again, remind me, can people still get the first 3 issues, or is it now done?
Well, since I am lazy, I never took down my Indiegogo. So the Indiegogo is still out there. Good thing about Indiegogo, once you hit your funding goal, you can leave your campaign up in demand. So I've left it up for 2 issues now. Now, when issue 3 came out, I changed everything over to issue 3. Initially, it was issue 2 funding, but I changed over to issue 3, and I've just left it up there. And occasionally, I still sell a copy. So, but once I launched a new campaign that's closing out, I won't be offering issues 1, 2, and 3 anymore, except in trade paperback.
Gotcha. Well, I am very much looking forward to that because I'm going to throw a bunch of money at you, just like the lady of the night that you are. Now, also, we're bringing in the father of the flagship, the leader of our Rompus crew here at the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, the only, the amazing, the very, very fezzed Brian K. Morris. Hello, sir. Hello. How are you? Tell us why you're so great and where we can find you.
Because I have my own Funko Pop. That's why I'm so dang awesome. Thank you, Damien. Get toys from him. Anyway, hello, I'm Brian K. Morris, and I tend to hijack shows like this. Hello. I'm an independent publisher, freelance hybrid author and editor, award-winning playwright, Facebook famous YouTuber, and former mortician's assistant. You can find what I do at this site right here, where you can also sign up for my free monthly newsletter. Next issue, well, the next issue should be out right now. We go out on the 1st of every month. And today I'm glad, today's the day I shaved Eric. It was special for both of us. So I'm pleased to be here. I feel thoroughly dingoized.
As you should, sir. As you should. And it looks like we've lost a dingo, unfortunately. Jeremy ran and hid once all the guests came out, so I'm sure he'll be back later. Wait a minute. Damien, do we have a little friend
We do.
here?
Her name is Baby.
What's her name?
Baby. Because nobody puts baby.
Baby. Oh, hello, baby. She looks traumatized. What are you doing to her?
I'm not even holding her down.
She's just like, yes, human couch. Stay where you are.
Pretty much.
Stay where you are. All right. Well, before we jump into the topic, while we're waiting on Jernbo Bagwood to show back up, let's jump into the comment section. And as always, a prompt and early Donna Carleen. She finds a seat, settles down to eat her Boston cream pie. Oh, delicious. Carl Witzman. Hello, everyone. Hello to you, sir. And the Ted Davies. Hello, sir. Hello. Everyone's saying hello to each other. And oh my gosh, look at that. Eric, you have a doppelganger. Did you see that?
I do.
Someone's pretending
Oh.
to be you in the comments section.
Yeah, that's a
amazing.
cool thing about the internet. You could be in many places at once. I'm
Omnipresent.
camming on for OnlyFans over on this monitor over here.
Why did he point at me?
You know why.
Is Chab Nust in an augmented reality? You know what? I think so. I really do. I think he has escaped into the virtual world. We may see him. He may become Neo and free us all from the robots in the future. Carl Witzman says, hi, Damien's cat. And Ted Davies says, Joe. And then he says, Eric. And Donna says, hi, Joe D. and the Eric. And then Ted says, Brian. And then Donna Carly says, Brian K. Hello.
Hi, Donna.
Carl Witzman, BKM is much smaller on the screen than he is in real life.
That's kind of personal, Carl.
I know, my goodness. Talk about OnlyFans. Right.
No.
Ow.
Oh no, that hurt me, and that wasn't even about me.
I know.
My goodness. What'd you say, Damien?
I said collateral damage.
I
Yeah, no kidding.
Jeez.
Captain, the shields are crumbling.
Well, we've lost another dingo now, what it looks like. So everyone's just abandoning ship. Actually, I think the sniper that I hired about a year ago finally found Chad. So that's a good move. I'm glad for that.
Welcome to Comic Book Spectrum. And
right, yeah, pretty
we're
much.
colonizing now.
And our guest, Damian Waldron. So
Our new co-host, Damon
Not
Waldron.
that good.
he's filling Clyde's shoes this week, apparently.
Nobody can fill
Um,
shoes.
Nobody can fill Clyde. That is very true.
Yeah.
That is very true. And hopefully Clyde is doing a special library project tonight. And hopefully if he gets home a little early, he can jump in before we're done, but we'll see. Well, guys, what do you say we jump in? Tonight's topic is tips, tools, techniques, just for, the process of creating. And we're all, profound and amazing minds here. At least you all are. And everyone but Chad, for sure. But I would say, just to get everything started off, let's go around the room and just describe your create process. So what is your daily or weekly approach to creating, and how do you actively try to develop or get better at your craft? Joe, let's start with you, man.
It's top secret. You have to have specialized clearance for that. No, seriously, it's just taking whatever time that you have. I mean, even right now, as you guys are talking, I'm actually working in Dodge Studio. So it is what it is. You take whatever time that you got to do wherever you have to do. It's not, to me, it's not formulaic. That's the reason why I wanted to go kind of quote unquote off script.
Mhm.
because that's the way that I normally do. That's like I have like outlines and stuff, but when it comes down to the actual doing of the stuff, it's pretty much just do it.
Right. Cool. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, I just sit down and do it. No, I have a schedule for myself. Honestly, I have every week's laid out. I have one day I work on the Zombieful World of Oz, whether it be art or script. Actually, it's about 3 days a week I do that. Then another day I work on Zombieful Adventures, and then I got commission work as scheduled for a day. So that's how my week goes. I have everything scheduled, so I try to keep to that schedule. But sometimes I fall asleep on the couch watching TV before it starts. But as far as art, I try to draw every day, regardless. If it's for the comic or not, I draw something just to keep the muscles limber. Because even if I take a couple days off of drawing, I'll lose a step, and I gotta keep up. And writing's just easy. I mean, just anyone can do that, so I don't worry about that too much.
And maybe a rebuttal, Brian K. Morris. What do you have to say about that, sir? My gosh.
Well, first of all, now I know how members of the comic book spectrum people feel when the hecklers start out. Well, I take a day, go through the dark web, look for hitmen, for artists, and generally, I am kind of blessed in a great way in that this is my full-time gig. So I have no excuse not to work unless I'm traveling to a convention or whatever. But I generally try to write part of the day or edit, because I'm now a freelance editor too. I much prefer writing. I have a lot more fun telling lies. And then I usually early in the calendar week, if I don't have a subject in mind, it happens on Monday. But I write my blog entries for my Patreon page early in the week. As far as broadcasting, I've got a show tomorrow. I've got 2 guests that I am doing minimal research, because fortunately I know them. They're friends of mine, and I am aware of their work, so I don't have to do a whole lot. But it's just the setting up and everything. But I take time to set up my shows on StreamYard. So it's pretty regimented to a degree. But we also have this iPad that's unfortunately somehow got loaded with games when I wasn't looking. And we're pretty much through the Injustice 2, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, the time waster of choice. But no, I do try to approach it like a regular job as to how I get better at it. One, I read a lot of books on the craft and art of writing. I do a lot of searches on the internet. I follow a number of writers on YouTube for advice and just to remind me of things I may have forgotten in the ongoing years. But I think Eric said it correctly. The best way to get better at this is simply to do it.
Yeah. I know, like, a lot of people have said to you before, and I think have even said this to you before. I don't know a person that I think is busier than you when it comes to all of the things, all of like the plates that you spin and things that you juggle from being a full-time editor, full-time writer, full-time broadcaster. I mean, especially there, like a year or 2 ago, you were almost on every day.
I was on every day for at least
I know you
an
were.
hour. Yeah.
So it's just I know I've always thought to myself, like, my Robin has even said, like, how does he have time to do anything else? And like, so kind of taking a pull back, like, from your daily, like, do you, like, when you're planning a month or something like that, do you have a schedule that you go by, or do you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants?
A lot of it is fly by the seat of the pants, because I work not only for myself but for other publishers. For instance, this weekend, I was editing a manuscript, and then the publisher sent me a galley of my story. Or actually, my editor sent it to me, who just happens to be my wife. So So you talk about my ego being bruised. She's not afraid to destroy it every now and then. So I dropped what I was doing and I addressed her concerns and then sent it back. And then I had to get told, well, you have to now write your bio, but that's getting easier and easier the more I do it. And then something else popped up, and it's just you just have to be flexible in this too, in that it's like a regular job with duties as assigned, where you think you know what you're going to do that day, and then you start to work towards it, and then somebody else pops their head in your cubicle and says, hey, we need you to drop what you're doing and do this immediately.
Yeah.
So it's the only thing that changed between working 9 to 5 and working for myself is the boss is still an idiot. That's about the only thing that's really that's a constant in whatever you do. So
Isn't Cookie your boss?
I'm not admitting that publicly.
Okay.
I think he was referring to for his own safety. I'm going to say he was referring to himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, she is a hard task mistress, but unfortunately, she's also right when it comes to my writing. It was kind of funny because the publisher asked her, said, "Well, I've got this one book that we're doing. Do you have time on your schedule?" She's like, "Yeah, I'd be glad to do it." And the publisher's like, "You're going to have to tell Brian some things. Are you good with like pushing him around?" And she's like, "I've got this every day. I've got this one."
Cookie's like, "I have a PhD in that, sir."
Yeah. She'll be starting her YouTube course any day now, how to abuse your husband.
her master class.
Yeah, no joke. Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Okay. Well, Damien, what about you, man? Mid drink, yes.
I light some candles, put on a little soft jazz, and I see what happens.
Ooh, hey, baby.
I never
turn a little Barry White on,
Hey, baby. I don't go anywhere without pencil and paper. I keep a sketchbook with me. I keep some sort of drawing or writing material, and I'm just always working on something. Like I'm always trying to keep that edge sharp.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been trying to get more into a rhythm and a schedule, and because I'm working on 2 things right now, and I'm 3 technically, but 2 for sure. And don't want to go into it right now. But soon you'll know. But I'm trying to get more into that pattern, into that regular schedule. And so right now I'm just working whenever I can. Sharpening.
Right. So like, and I want to follow up this question for all of our, I guess I can go ahead and ask it. Because Brian and Chad both do this full time. So their stories look a little different. For the rest of us, we also have a day job. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, kind of just to backtrack a little bit, how do you guys juggle your schedule with your day job and, create, your creative hat? Rather, like, so are you guys, because I know for me personally, like I can't shut it off, right? So like I can't like clock in and out of creative mode. So like I know a lot of times if I'm at work and an idea hits me, I got to take to my Google Docs and just type some stuff. What does that look like for you guys? Balancing that. Joe, we'll start with you.
There is no balance with that. You just do what you got to do. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, for me, I can't work on the art side of things while I'm doing my day job, my 9 to 5. Anything that's writing wise, that's the reason why you got a extra open Microsoft Word there. Type something out, save it to a thumb drive, you're done. Bring it back home, and it's like, okay, you got that part done. You don't have to worry about that particular portion of your day when you get home. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes you don't get afford to do it during your day, but at least that way you do have opportunities when it is slow enough where you can.
Cool, Eric. What about you?
I pretty much keep them separate for the most part. I was worried about when I started working from home, 2 years ago now, that I wouldn't be able to. But when I was going into the office every day, I would spend my lunch hour drawing typically or writing. Always took my stuff with me. But on conference calls or something like that, I will doodle. I'll doodle eyes. I'll doodle hands, stuff like that, because I can concentrate more on the call while I'm doing something with my hands myself. But otherwise, I really try to separate the worlds so I don't mix them up, because work is one thing, and I get them combined, I'll screw something up.
Right? Yeah. Damien, what about you?
Same thing, really. Just when I'm at work, I tend to do more of the cerebral part of it. I can't do a lot of the drawing. I'll doodle or I'll sketch a little bit, but I do a lot of the plotting and things like that in my head while I'm going, and then I'll, like Joe said, pull up a little Word doc and throw it into my Dropbox so I have it when I get home.
Right. Cool.
Can I throw this out there?
Yeah.
Out of all of us that have jobs, which one of us actually can afford to have drawing material out at their job? Because I know I can't.
I know for me, I don't have drawing stuff out. I because I have the digital setup and everything. I never bring that with me. I mean, I have a little sketchbook. My work, Damien and I work together at the same tech shop, and our work is pretty flexible. Like, if we have an idea or something, we can sketch something out really quick. It's not a big deal there. They're not. No, I mean, if you're just sitting there drawing the whole day, then they have a problem. but if it's a quick break just to get an idea out, they're very flexible and they very much encourage what we do, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, there are absolutely work environments where they don't want you doing anything else but what you're there to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I mean, hey, there's a place for that. I mean, for example, if you're like in a factory on a line, you really don't have the opportunity to do something like that. You just hope that you don't forget the idea by the time you get home.
And that's why I was literally getting at, because they frown upon the sketch pad and sketchbook at my job.
Yeah.
But because I type documents all day, they don't know what notes go where.
Right.
So therefore, it doesn't matter.
Writing.
They know that you're
like
working on something.
Yeah.
What you're working on is a little bit, could be what you're doing outside, which is a no-no, but they can't really tell until they really delve into it.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, a few years ago, before I came back, I worked for the same company for 20 years, got let go in 2010. 2014, I've come back and working for that company again. But in between those 4 years, I worked for a Dial soap in the warehouse, then the dock office. But there was nights that, and driving a forklift, you can't stop and draw and stuff.
Right. A little unsafe.
If they needed someone to sub in the guard shack outside, you're out there all by yourself. And if you're working 5 a.m. to 5 in the morning, not a lot of trucks come in.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of drawing out there.
Yeah. Well, I know when I worked at a Zappos factory there for a little bit, and our security guards, I mean, I actually ended up becoming kind of friends with one of them, because every time I would come in and out of the building, he'd be sitting there drawing. And I mean, that's all he did. He sat there all day long. Nothing ever happened. So he was just paid to sit there. And he said he was encouraged to like bring something to read or something. So in those situations, that's nice. But Chad, why don't you jump in and tell us, kind of what your daily or weekly approach to creating looks like.
Yeah. Sorry. I was, my neighbor knocked on my window, which is right here next to me.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah, well, she was
It's
like
on the third floor too.
She was saying that she smelled smoke, and so I had to go outside real quick, and come to find out it's like our neighbor, like the house down, is like having a barbecue or something like that. And then the dog started flipping out. It's just craziness. So I missed the whole first part. So apologize about that. But yeah,
that's
so
okay. Your punishment will come later.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, to be fair, I know you say that I do this full time. I kind of do it part time. Like, I couldn't live off of what I'm doing right now. I've just started since July, so I'm kind of take the long view. I know it'll take a few years before I can get to that point. I'm thankfully I have a sugar mama, which is nice. My wife is a salary manager, so she makes really good money. And then I also work with two of our boys are autistic, and we have there's a government waiver that we use where I'm able to actually make money teaching them life skills. So I do that for a chunk of my day. So my day is similar to y'all's because, and I agree with what I forget who said it, but it's very difficult if your time is taken up with a job or some other responsibility. It's very difficult to like turn creativity on and off. But I found that I kind of have to do that. Like I have to say, okay, from 10 to 2 in the afternoon is my time to create. Well, there's a lot of times from 10 to 2, I don't feel very creative, but you kind of have to do it because in the evening I'm spending it with my boys or running errands or whatever, and I won't be able to get to it. My best time to create is late, super late at night when everyone's asleep. And, there's a lot of times if I don't get sucked into playing PlayStation in the middle of the night, then I'll be working on drawing or painting or whatever. So that for me, I have to take a very disciplined approach. In other words, like I literally write out my schedule and like, okay, this day I'm doing this day I'm doing that. Or I just have a general framework. I know, on Monday I'm going to be doing this, Tuesday is this, that, that kind of thing. But there is some freedom there because things come up and that kind of thing. But I try to, like I said before, usually from 10 to 2 is my window of time for me to work. And then usually late at night from 10 to like 2 or 3 in the morning, I try to do some too. So, yeah.
Chad's like, who needs sleep? I'm a vampire.
I can actually do pretty well off a little sleep. But
well, you used to especially not get hardly any sleep. I remember when we first met, Chad you had like 17 jobs.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
I know you were like, I get up at 3 in the morning and deliver papers, and then I'm also a chef. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So
but I know for me, my schedule kind of varies a little bit every week, but I mean most of my nights are either doing a show or at my drawing. I mean, I'm at my drawing table either way, but doing a show or working on a comic. And some weeks, every week I will be getting at least 2 pages done of the current comic that has a Kickstarter, either ongoing or fulfilling. And then
taking like 6 months.
and then on the weeks where I have like my Princess Warriors webcomic, I have to do a page for that as well. So I'll just kind of adjust some things for that. And I'm constantly writing. I have, as of right now, I have 6 or 7 different Google Docs just dedicated to notes for stories, and then multiple scripts. And I'm just constantly floating. And honestly, I have found for me, that's what works best. It's what keeps me fresh as a writer and as a creator, is having multiple stories working in my head at the same time.
Yeah.
Because if I get a little burned out on one thing, I can immediately switch over to another one. And it just, it keeps me constantly fresh. So, but that's 24/7. I mean, literally, I have to take sleep meds just to go to sleep so that my brain will shut off. Otherwise, I'm up at 3 in the morning writing stories in my head, just staring at the ceiling. And that scared Robin, so I had to medicate. But but anyway, let's jump back into the comments really quick. Carl is clarifying himself. He says he is tiny and in a little plastic case. That is what he meant, of course. And Sarah is here in the house. Madam, good to see you. And Ted Davies, we're not reading that. Carl Witzman says, hey, Sarah.
Thank you, Ted. I love you.
Sarah says Carl, and Donna Carleen says hi Sarah, and Sarah says Donna, and Sarah says Ted, and Carl Witzman sees, hey, he sees you. She's like, what do you mean? No one can see me. She says, you're too fat. No one can see me over you. And Sarah says, panel. Hello.
Sarah!
How are you, Sarah?
Hello. Hello there.
Carl says, wouldn't that be her mistress class? Well, that could be, or it could be a different thing. I don't really know. Ted Davies says, Damien, the ladies' man, candlelight and comics, new podcast. Oh, that would be wonderful and terrifying. Sarah, I am I'm waiting to be able to get back into Damien's omnibus if he doesn't have a ton more to do. And Carl Witzman says, I was like Joe D, keep ready to get an idea down on paper or in a document whenever it hits, unless I had someone in my office. Yeah, for sure. Donna says there are a lot of work environments where anything you do on company property belongs to the company. That is very true. So you got to be mindful of that if you're creating things on their, on their premises, on their dime, rather. Carl says, as long as the neighbor didn't smell a sweet smelling gas, just saying, yes. My first question was, does she smell toast? Is she having a stroke?
Joe gets it. Joe gets that one. Carl was making a vague reference to his book, The Mad Gasser Cheerleader of Calhoun County.
Oh, yes.
With cover by Eric.
I was getting to that. Yes. A beautiful cover by Eric.
On green screen. Look how scary it is on green screen.
It's amazing how your art looks like Joe's.
I know. That's fantastic,
like
Eric. Yeah. Sarah says, I'm constantly on my feet, working and walking all over the place. No time to write anything down outside of the completion log as I go. Looking down the halls, I giggle at the image of The Shining.
If you see a pair of twins, run.
Right, indeed. Or, hug them. Maybe that's all they need. Sarah says, yes, I'm a little weird like that. Aren't we all? She then says, Father of the Day award goes to Chad. Oh,
no, hold on. The funny thing about that is behind the scenes when I turned off the mic, I actually yelled at my daughter a little bit.
I legit thought that's what was happening. I legit thought, like, when you got up that second time, you got up with a mission. You, took your headphones off and jumped up. I was like, he's beating his children.
Well, no, because
a puppy while he's at it, too.
I always tell him on Tuesday, I do the show. And so I always tell him, okay, while the show's going on, like, we have a little miniature schnauzer. And so if anything outside the house, happens, it barks all the time. So I'm like, you guys need to watch the dog so it doesn't go crazy. Well, she was up in her room, and then the neighbor came out and the dog was barking. I was like, what are you doing?
So anyways, just
yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. So
dogs and cats living with each other, mass hysteria.
Yeah.
Nicholas Talker says, Chad Nuss, please contact me about what program you use.
Yeah,
I am a stay-at-home parent caring for my autistic son. There you go. All right.
Yep.
Yeah,
just put your contact info in the comments and I'll send you an email.
Sarah says, she's sending love to Nick. And she says, good to see you too. And Carl says, always promote. Well done, sir. Absolutely.
Yes, always promote.
Absolutely. Oh, Brian, what are you holding there, sir?
This is the second volume in the Subterranean Blue Grotto essays about Batman. This is the second season of the TV show from 1966. I have an essay in here along with about more than a dozen other wonderful writers. And as far as, I've got the screen here, also check out Oof, Boff, Splat, the newest book that just came out about a week ago. I have an article in there. And we have the Skyhook Remnant, The Last Adventures of Captain Hawkland. All this is available on Amazon. Get yours today.
Beautiful. Well done, sir. And look at that smile. How could you not buy something from that? So a lot going on the same kind of the same lines as what we just talked about. So how do you guys your process for drawing versus writing, right? So for example, how do you draw figures, or how do you write a draft of a novel, et cetera, et cetera? What does that process look like for you? We'll start with Chad. We'll start with you this time.
Well, I mean, I kind of do both because I'm the author and the artist for The Silence. So for me, I usually write kind of a basic outline of the book first, and then maybe some sections I'll get a little bit more detailed. But then when I usually work section by section. I've tried doing the whole book, but I just can't do that all in one thing. So I usually do like one section, I'll get the writing done, then I'll do the art. So I usually do the outline first, then I'll do the art, then I'll come back after the art is done and actually finalize dialogue and those kind of things. And so I'll usually do little thumbnails for all the pages, and that usually changes as I go through doing the story. And then as far as like actual drawing, I do kind of I learned a lot from How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and so I'm very messy at first. I use a kind of a modified stick figure when it comes to figure drawing specifically. It's very a lot of flowing lines, and it's just over years of doing it. I just kind of know how proportions work and all that kind of stuff by sight, but for a while there, you actually have to measure things out, make sure everything looks good. And then I try to think of in terms of like camera angles, like I was watching a movie. And so when I think of a scene, I think of like what would be more dynamic. I really need to work on that because I found myself kind of gravitating towards angles that I would normally always use, or, I'll look at my book and then I'll look at I don't know if you want to say professional or like a Marvel book or something out there. And I'll be like, man, they just have a dynamic way of doing it that I just need to get better at. And so I'm constantly trying to think through that. But yeah, that's basically my approach to working on the comic book. So.
Nice. I noticed like I have found myself slipping into a similar just comfortable way of laying out a page. Where if I want to make myself feel better, I'll just flip to a Mike Mignola Hellboy book, which usually the page layout is pretty much the same every page. And I'm like, see if he can do it, so can I. But then I also want to stretch myself and grow, and I want to be a little more dynamic with page layouts and different angles and things like that. And so, but I get stuck in that rut as well. Actually, the issue that I'm working on now that I'm about to finish up for Memoirs issue 8 is I have found a couple pages like I will do the layout and I'll look at it and I'm like, I feel like I just did this exact layout, and I'll go to the page 2 pages before, and sure enough, it's almost identical. So I'm like, so yeah, I'm now to the place as an artist trying to get away from that and trying to make every page at least somewhat of a newer experience than before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damien, what about you?
Since I'm more of a plotter than a writer, I usually try to. You can't be on mic, sweetie.
Baby's like, I would like to talk about this, please.
She comes and bothers me every time I'm drawing. I try to do. I really use the Marvel method for when I'm working on my own artwork. I'll plot it, and then I'll work the plot over in the actual pencils, and then from there, script or have someone else script it with a combination of the art and the plot after. So that's my main method of working. I do have a couple scripts that I've been working from lately, and so I'm trying to be. I have the same layout problem, where I tend to do the same things repetitively, and so I will try specifically page by page to do it a little differently, just push that limit a little more out of my comfort zone so that I can, add to the page itself. I'm trying to get a little more into writing. So that process I feel is almost like a different part of my brain.
Yeah.
It's like speaking in a different language. Like if for me, I see drawing as a language. And my brain literally is speaking like I'm speaking English now as I'm drawing, and then I'm trying to speak like Portuguese, and I don't know Portuguese. But if I practice long enough, my brain will switch to Portuguese. It's like just switch over to that other way of thinking. And it's hard for me to do, but I can do it. I'm trying to get back.
Yeah, I know that you've talked to me about your process before about plotting, and then you usually work with a writer and you draw. And again, That's a lot like what Mike Mignola does with most of his work now. Is he will plot the stories, pitch that plot over to a writer because he hates writing dialogue, and that writer will do his kind of work a little more closely with Mike Mignola, and then Mike will just kind of let them do their own thing as a writer a lot of times. But he's still, back when he did a lot of the art, that's what he did. Now he kind of just is more of a director than anything else, which is interesting in comics. He just kind of does the plot, does the general story, kind of like how George Lucas was with Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. The good ones. And so, Brian, what does that look like for you as like a writer of novels and comics?
You're not going to get, are you going to skip Eric or?
What? No, we're going.
Oh,
down.
okay.
Yeah,
I tend to go in a circular way, so that's.
Oh yeah, I've got my own little slithery snake.
Rodman
form
thinks
right here.
outside the box.
You never catch me doing that.
Yeah,
I like where I'm
yeah.
at. I like
So
I
outside
like
the
my,
box
like
right
my
now.
little box. No, okay, my process. And I do want to take it aside that Chad mentioned the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I recommend that to any writer of comics because if you can learn to think like an artist, it makes it easier to communicate with them. As far as angles and even reminders of like reminding artists that these people should have expressions or utilize the body language in order to convey emotions, for instance. But most of my writing, whether it's comics or novels or short story, always begins with the elevator pitch. 2 lines, 2 breaths, and if I can't make myself want to read the story from my own elevator pitch, I just file the idea away until I can come up with something a lot better. The example I always use is a 19th century whaling boat. On a 19th century whaling boat, a young man discovers a whole new way of life when he signs up. However, the insane ship's captain is bound and determined to destroy the white whale that took his leg, even if it means all their lives. I'd read that. I read it in high school. It's called Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I wish my English teacher had described it like that, and I've knocked someone over to get to that book. But I start with that as the beginning of the story. Then I attach an ending that I just use as a placeholder, because I recognize that as I fill out the story using something called Lester Dent's master plot, who was the creator of Doc Savage back in the pulp days. And it was like a 16-step framework for a story. And it reminded you that like to put in twists and turns in certain points. If you had the hero get into a fight with his fists in one quarter, you better have him using a knife or a bow stick in the next, to vary things up. And then I just kind of flesh it out from there. And then I hit the writing stage, get bored with my plot about halfway through and figure if I know what's coming up next, even though I'm the guy who created it, I better change it to surprise my audience. And so I try to come up with another difficulty for the protagonist to make it harder to reach the ultimate goal that he or she is going for. And then from there, it's just massaging the thing into shape and going back and forth. And it's like, okay, I had him pull out a gun in the 3rd quarter of the book. I better show him putting it into his pocket in the 1st quarter. No Deus Ex Machina for me, Green Arrow syndrome. But and then you just move it back and forth until I'm satisfied with everything that's in there. That everything flows.
That's what she said. I'm so sorry.
No, you aren't. Don't even lie. I've been a horrible corruptive.
And that's the real reason Clyde didn't show up.
Yeah, that's exactly what
Clyde still has a reputation, and it's a good one. But despite our best efforts, but yes, for Lent, Brian Rodman will be giving me up because I'm to salvation. But
it's gonna be a sad 40 days.
I know. Well, it's like I have a friend who every time he'd go through Lent, he recognized that his insulting other people was standing between him and Lent. This is some of the stories you pick up in life. And so what he'd do is he wouldn't insult anyone during Lent, but he'd write down what he meant to say. And on day 41, he would unload.
Yeah.
So
It's like that episode of The Office where Michael Scott comes back in and just boom, roasted, boom, roasted. That's day 41.
Exactly, yeah.
That's Happy Easter, everybody. I'm back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and usually I had about 4 or 5 pages just for me. But anyway, no, that's the that's the way I approach all of my stories. Is start with a good framework, something that like if you saw it on the back of a paperback book, or you saw it as the previews teaser, and next thing you do is tell your local comics monger or your bookseller, put a copy of that aside for me.
Yeah.
So and just start out small and let it grow. So
I like that. And everyone, we have the search party has come back with and they brought us a Jeremy. And we're
it
very,
can't
very
be
happy
him. He's not got the fancy eyewear.
that he
Hot
found
while I
his
was
way.
trying to fix the internet. My whole head was just like drenched in sweat.
Oh man. So Jeremy, just to catch you up, our question that we're floating around is so like how do you what are your specific techniques for how you approach your creative endeavor? So be thinking about that when we get to you here in a couple turns. Eric, what about you, man?
Actually, I hire a ghostwriter and ghost artist. I don't do anything.
Excellent. I love it. Eric's like the Al Capone of comics.
Yeah.
But actually, if anyone out there doesn't have how to draw comics the Marvel way, and if you got a Five Below near you, they're almost always a Five Below. Every time I go in one of those stores. As for scripting my books, usually I come up with the idea, then how I want it to begin and end. Then I fill it in with about 10 to 12 scenes, and I break those scenes up into pages, how many pages I want each scene to have to come up to the total number of pages I want the comic to have. Then I dive deeper in and break it down into panels and whatnot and descriptions of the panels. And dialogue usually comes last after I draw. Except for key points in dialogue it came to my head, it's really good, I'm going to write that one down because I won't remember it later.
Yeah.
But dialogue, it really comes a lot later. And sometimes, the scenes while I'm in the middle of the book drawing, a scene might get combined with another scene to just shorten it up or lengthen another one. It happens all the time. But I go to my thumbnails, I break them out and then go to drawing. Which the drawing part, as far as drawing figures, I kind of use the soup can method for the body. Shapes. I do shapes to do everything. I like using reference. I use a lot of reference. I look up reference. I have reference books. I don't trace reference, but I look up reference to find the way things should have. Because it might be in my head, but it's not coming out right out of this little thing here.
Right, yeah.
So I get a picture on the big screen here. I go, oh, okay, okay. But mostly it's all wireframe stuff. Then I fill it in with after that.
Yeah. I think you and I do everything pretty much identically the same.
Everything.
Everything.
Mm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Erica, I'm the exact same way. Sometimes I'll think of a line of dialogue, like if I see thinking through the story, and then I'll think of a panel, and then just that one line needs to go there, and then I'll write that down. But dialogue comes last. But every once in a while, you'll get that like, oh man, if you said that at this point, that'd be awesome kind of moment. So
I got and some of my pencils on the pages. Actually, this page right here I'm working on. There's dialogue written underneath the colors. I gotta remember that. Bring back up.
Oh my gosh! It's so funny you said that. I am working on a page where that's happening too. I have to do that. For me, it's very like I will start out writing a script as if I'm going to hand it off to an artist. So I will describe every panel, all that jazz. To add to the Marvel book, I would also say Alan Moore's book on writing comics really helped me quite a bit. It's very short too, which is great. It's a short read with a lot of wisdom. and plus he's super weird. It's wonderful. But
Yeah, and also Warren Ellis also has from the same publisher, Avatar Press, has a book on writing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it's out of print, but it is. I got a copy, and it's very, very interesting. But you talk about drawing and then putting in the dialogue later. I write a script the very same way for comics. I don't do the dialogue anymore until I get all the panel descriptions done.
Oh, wow.
To make sure that it's not just talking heads or that there is a progression going on that page. And then I go back and write the dialogue in.
And, the practical reason, too, for me is sometimes space is an issue. So, when you have a panel that you've drawn ahead and you're thinking in your mind, oh, I've already written 3 lines of dialogue here. Well, it's not going to fit in that picture. So you've got to figure out to say the same thing with 1 line rather than 3. And if you've got your dialogue set beforehand, I can run.
Well, I usually leave that for the artists. I figure it's their problem, right, Eric?
Well, yeah. When I'm working on a script for Brian, it's been a while, but when I'm doing my thumbnails, I do. I draw the word bubbles in as I'm doing the thumbnails, so I know where to put the art. Yeah.
That's what Jack Kirby used to do. So.
Which is why there's no room for backgrounds, because there's all word bubbles.
Right.
I'm trying to be easy on Eric, and not to fill up every corner with wordage. I want to do the same with Damien too. So
yeah, I know. For me,
help, guys.
I'll start off with a script, and then once I get my artist hat on, the script is guidelines. Because I know where I wanted to go with it, and then it becomes okay. Now I'm actually crafting it. What's it look like? And a lot of times things will change in that process. Sometimes I've added a couple pages just because I wanted some specific scene to look a little different.
Yeah.
So yeah. What about you, Joe?
See, I'm the odd man out of this, and everything that I'm hearing right now, I couldn't work with you guys.
Eric and Damien tell me I'm a jerk. You really couldn't work with me, so it's all right, Joe. I understand.
No, I couldn't. Not by the method here. That's the reason why I was turning around and doing all this other stuff, because I'm about to show you some things here. Like, for example, this is a concept idea that I have. It's about like 8 pages long, and I write it out longhand. I actually literally write it out longhand, just to get the concept down and out and everything. It does not have any real dialogue, but it has pretty much like plot points, what things look like, how everything is going, and all this other stuff. So when I go from this to an actual script, and this is, kind of like previewing what you might end up seeing in Amazonia #7, I go to a simple script like this from something like that, which, pretty much details what every panel is, because I actually storyboard. So when I start writing the script, I actually have the dialogue and everything, because I have to take in consideration of that when I storyboard. So when I hand this off to an artist and they want to change something, I'm up and like, no. Here's how storyboard wise it's supposed to look. This is the reason why I give you a description. I might give you some leeway as far as how textures and stuff looks on clothing and all this other stuff, but pretty much I'm giving you everything in a nutshell. Only thing you have to do is just do the panel to leave enough room for the dialogue that's in hand, because I have to take a consideration of that. And when I take a consideration of that, when I storyboard it, everything fits. So that's the reason why I have a hard time with a lot of artists, because everybody keeps saying, why don't you work with a lot of artists? And it's like, a lot of artists can't do what I ask.
He's like, because if they don't do what I say, I punch them in the throat.
And I put it there, and I have to go from what I give to them in the script, and then it's like, really, you saying you can't do this? And I show them the storyboards, and it's like, oh, that what you mean? It's like, I'm done. I have worked with too many pro-am projects where I have seen too many people favor the artist over the writer, especially when the writer goes above and beyond the Call of Duty to storyboard, to make certain that everything fits, to give you, detailed and concise information in the script. And because you can't draw something, or because you feel more comfortable a certain way, instead of working with what was given to you, you go opposite direction. That's caused a lot of arguments there. And it stifles one person's creativity for your creativity. that's a major problem. That's why comics is a perfect marriage between writing and drawing. It's always going to have to be that perfect marriage, and not everybody could work with one another in that aspect. And that's just the way that I am as far as this is concerned.
I wonder if that maybe not the difference, but maybe I wonder if the distinction between the two approaches is like, for me, like I'm both the artist and the writer. So like as I'm thinking through a scene, like I don't need to write out all the details because I already have it visualized in my head. Whereas
but you don't understand what the writer is going through because you don't go through.
That's what I'm saying.
The concept steps here.
Yes,
so forcing yourself to do something like this, now you can understand why your writer may have a problem.
Here's my concept for issue 4 of the Zombie World of Oz.
Don't worry, his editor will clean it up.
Hold on, Eric. Hold that back up again.
That's some form of storyboard, which is good. See,
that's how it started, right over here.
Nice.
I wanted to have a head in a box. I was working on Captain Fighter. And
what's in the box?
Yeah.
All of
that's how it started.
That all comes back down to proof of concept, though. So you working towards a storyboard. The problem here is that if you hire a writer 9 times out of 10 is not going to think storyboard out the gate. So they're going to probably put it in long form like this, and then between the both of you might have to sit down and have them to understand what storyboarding is, before they could break it down into a script where they could understand. I can't have all of this dialogue. I can't have all of this. You only have so much space in a panel to do X, Y, and Z.
Right. That's where I wonder how different, because I've never worked with a writer, and I just wonder how different that would be, because I understand what you're saying, Joe. Like if I were the writer and I went to an artist and I said, here's my story, and the artist came back at me and said, well, no, we're going to do it this way, I would get offended, because I'd be like, no, you basically are saying you can't draw this because you're not skilled enough to do what I'm asking you to do. And I think for a lot of artists, that's probably the issue. If they see a scene where it says, well, I need a building to look at this angle and the character this way, and then put all this dialogue in here, they may not be very good at perspective. And so they're thinking, I don't want to draw that. I can draw more like this. And then
that character right there requires a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
Or Chad's just
people
a
can't do
writer.
it. People can't do it. People can't do it. And it just mind boggling.
Yeah.
I change Brian's scripts all the time.
Yeah.
then I edit them. I change them back. We're a good partnership here.
I love the passive aggressive.
Yeah. No, the thing is, I'm sorry. Damien has been waving his hand, and then I'd like to make a point.
Oh, hi, Damien. How are you? Brian,
I agree with Joe. I think, like, I'm an artist. That is what I do. But my job is to follow a writer's script. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do. If I have ideas, then I ask the writer, and I try to establish this in the beginning. Like, if the writer is the one that has the map, I'm building the car that we're going to take the trip on, and the writer has to tell me what to do in some aspects when I'm working with other people. That for me, it's a hardline thing. It's like, does the writer want me to derivate? Do they want me to add? And I almost always ask. I never just do without offering. Like, hey, here's an idea I had. What do you think? No, okay, then let's just move forward with what we got. And I agree. It's a little bit. It's a respect issue and it's a ability issue. Both. If you've read through a script and you're like, I really don't think I can do this, you should tell the writer. I don't think I should. I don't think I can do this.
Right.
It's not a bad thing to know where your limitations are. But then maybe take that what you've just seen and go practice and add that to your toolbox so that later, or even later with that same script, if that writer is still amiable, then you can use that. But I get in the habit of thinking like Chad was saying, that's how I work too, with that plot and then art and then script. And so I get in that habit, but I always remember in the back of my mind, if I'm driving, if I'm can't talk. If I'm creating the map, I haven't eaten since like 8 a.m.
Why he needs a writer.
Right? Is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
But if I'm not writing the map, if I don't know where the place we're going is, then I follow the directions I'm given. I think that's just a good rule of thumb for people or for artists.
And-
today.
Yeah.
And can I bring up one more point here?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a recent project that I was hired to write was an 8-page story to write for upcoming anthology. The person who hired me made me watch the movie that it was based on. From there, I had to pitch a story. And then from there, I did proof of concept of what I was thinking, how the characters were and everything. And I'm constantly sending this information, forming my own storyboards in my own head before I actually sent them the final script. So when I sent them the final script, they sat there, they read through it, and they eventually was like, yes, we love this. It's a process from writing all the way down to the artwork level. It's like the writer is never on his own island. The artist is never on his island. It's always going to be some type of communication from the very time somebody hires you to say, start doing this, there's going to be communication. And that communication pretty much formulates how things are going to go creative wise, one way or the other, as far as what is going on that page, from page to page to page to page. If you're not willing to budge one way or the other, you pretty much, writing yourself out of a paycheck. If you get my drift here, pun included.
Well, and to address something Chad said, working with Eric and working with Damien, Damien, I'll vouch, he had a question about something I'd put in the description, and he came up with something better than what I had put in. And I love that kind of collaboration. And I told him if he's got an idea of how to do something differently, let's talk about it. And I think that makes it better and more personal for both of us. And the thing is, once I see what Damien has done with my script, the next script will be a little bit lighter in the text, in the descriptions. Like my scripts for Eric, despite how much we kid each other about it, are a lot leaner than the they are. They're a lot leaner when I'm working with Eric than shut up, Eric. Than when I'm working when I don't know who the artist is, or I've never worked with them before, because I've seen so many artists on our level who you could put them in. You could have somebody. Like I'd write that, somebody's dropped into a volcano and we see them sinking slowly into it, and their expression will be neutral, or they won't be. Or you say, two guys are arguing outside a bar, and yet they're standing straight up with their arms at their sides.
Yeah.
No, they're going to be like, yelling with their, doing this, and I have to tell people the body language and the expressions. Whereas with Eric, I don't have to. And once I see, what Damien does, and I can start writing towards his strengths.
Yeah.
So that's when it gets easier for me as a writer, and hopefully easier for the artists. And of course, I am filling up the backgrounds for Eric because I care.
I think to your point, it goes back to what kind of relationship you have, because to Joe's point, if I'm the writer and I'm hiring an artist, I'm the boss. Like, it's my script. But if I approach an artist and say, hey, let's collaborate on a story together, then that communicates something different to the artist that says that they have more input. But to what you're saying, Brian, over time, if there's a friendship and trust that develops, and then there is that open door to suggest things back and forth. But I would agree with Joe. If you're the writer, like, you're kind of in charge of that story, and the artist is there to accentuate and make that story better, not by changing it, but by accentuating what the script already is. You know what I mean? So,
even vice versa, it works too, because in my case, it was an artist that hired me to write.
Yeah.
So he had to help me visually see what his intentions were. Yeah. And once I saw it, I gave him what he wanted. Yeah. It's always going to be about communication.
Yeah, exactly.
Always. No,
Yeah,
no matter
and
what.
for me, I would say like I work the way that I've described because I do all my own stuff. I write it and I'm going to be the artist. So I don't really worry about what that communication looks like because I'm the one that's doing it.
If you're worrying about that communication, there's a bigger problem.
You need to go
Yeah.
to see, you need to go see somebody. You need a little help. But now if I'm right, like here soon, I will be collaborating with a couple people in this panel, and we will be. The communication will look different for that. It will look different, in case by case scenario. And
It will
so,
crash and burn.
yeah, with Jeremy's, it will definitely crash and burn.
Like the Bible, my will be done.
So like, I know for just an example, like the story that Brian and I are going to be working on, it's an idea that I came up with. I'm pitching him the story and kind of the world building of it all. He's writing it and then I'm drawing it. So it's kind of a pitching back and forth situation there. And that's going to look a lot different than what I just described.
Yeah.
Because it's just me. But yeah, Jeremy,
Yes.
so your take on this, what does that look like for you with like creating videos and promoting people like us?
Well, I'm hearing you guys talk about like, the tools that you use or kind of like the shorthand that you develop in your workflow or whatever. And a lot of the things, there's, similarities. Workflow is important no matter what you're doing. So figuring that out, hearing other people that are doing the same thing as you is important. I mean, there's probably 20 YouTubers that I follow that make videos, and they all at some point or another have talked about their workflow, and I've taken bits and pieces of that. For me, every video that I make starts with music. I talk to somebody, and Brian, for some of yours, you've had music ahead of time, and that's fine. I can work with that stuff. It's not like it's impossible for me to do it without picking the music, but
oh my. Well, like for example,
I give him some background music.
like where you're going with this, I notice in just the Kickstarter videos the differences between the Memoirs videos and the Nebulizer.
Yeah.
You even told me you had so much more fun making the Nebulizer because you had more freedom with that video.
With that, picking the music ahead of time really got me into the cyberpunk headspace that fit that, and that's kind of where my mind goes anyway. So, but yeah, almost every video starts with music, if possible, before I even start shooting it. It happens like that, rarely, but those are the ones that I have like the most fun with, when I can listen to the song, start hearing the beats, like the ebb and flow, the dynamic of the music, where it drops out, or where it gets bigger in a specific song. That's like, I want that to coordinate with what is going on screen. There's times where there will be like a 3-second lull in a song, and sometimes I will put just a black screen for that time, because it just makes what happened before and what will happen so much more impactful. So being able to plot that out ahead of time is huge for me. And then I have websites and that have like references and things like that I can use to kind of get in my head, like what I want the end result to look like. Watching movies, we were talking earlier about reference material. For you guys, it may be a reference book or something like that. For me, it's movies. I see, I'm always thinking like, I'll see a scene and start trying to process based on like the relation of the subject and the background compression, trying to think like what focal length the lenses are, and things like that, and looking for something that I've really noticed a lot recently. There's been a huge, I don't know what caused it, but there's this huge trend now of chromatic aberration, and with lenses, sometimes the mistakes are like, that's the good stuff. Sometimes those little inaccuracies are what makes it feel more real.
Yeah.
And chromatic aberration on the edges, you'll start to have a separation of the like red, green, and blue channels, or things will get blurrier. There'll be like where you can see the outlines. The nebulizer video that I made for you, I used some chromatic aberration. So if you look at when you're talking and you use your hands, there's a little bit of a separation, but like it's your hand, but it's like tripled, and there's color tint to it and things like that. So
I just thought I had superpowers. Dang it.
So there's things like that. Getting my hands on different unique lenses. If somebody I know has one, saying like, hey, can you please ship this to me? I promise I won't break it. I just want to take pictures with it. I always have my camera with me, walking down a street. It may not be a picture that I ever show to anyone, but again, it's more of that reference. You get used to knowing now when I plot out a video, I can say, well, I need a 135 millimeter lens because I want the background to look like this with their, like, I know exactly how to get what I want. And that's really helpful. If you, I'm sure you guys are the same way. Sitting down with a completely blank slate is like the stuff of nightmares.
It's
right?
gross. I don't like it. Yeah.
It's just, there's no ideas. That is just the worst. So being able to sit down with some thoughts in my head already really kind of help the process along a lot. And in like the workflow of like making a video, I've bought gaming mice, whatever.
Whatever that plural is.
Yeah.
Meese.
Yeah.
Meese. Brian, help us out. You're an editor. What is it?
Mises. It's based on the old cartoons, Mr. Jinx. I hate Mises to pieces.
There we go. Perfect. So they have extra buttons that you can program to do certain actions. So most of the mice that I have, Mises that I have, the right key, like the left click button is delete. It's not your typical right click. So in order to do a right click, I hit control and click. But what that does is, as I'm cutting things up and chopping things up, the things that I don't need, rather than having to go and click and then hit the delete button, or, right click and scroll down the thing, I just do so much deleting that having something like that where I can program, now I'm just delete. It just makes things so much faster. So I think like with you guys and your tablets, there are options like that, right? Where something can turn your pen into an eraser, or
the sidebar buttons are amazing.
Yeah,
I love them.
So it's essentially that built onto a mouse.
Yeah.
That really helps a lot. The littlest things will take me out of my thought process. So as much as I can smooth things out, it helps me so much. So
nice. Cool, man. Well, let's jump into the comments section really quick. We have a lot to get through. Sarah says the problem I have with Hellboy is that it looks like hockey pucks on his head. Distracts me every time. I'm gonna act like you didn't say that. Nick Talker says if Mike Mignola is looking for a ghostwriter, can I volunteer Brian K. Morris's services? Oh wait, Mike, if you're watching, he has a special announcement for you. Yeah,
Mike,
yeah.
call me.
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of yours, Mike, even back before you were really good.
Oh, there it is.
You know,
All right.
when they
So
put
you
these crappy anchors on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back when you sucked.
I'll be joining the diplomatic corps next year.
Yeah, Sarah says I still have the screenshot of where I left off, and the omnibus ends with a quote about monkey balls. Is that like monkey meat? Perfect timing.
Oh, monkey meat.
Did you find it?
No, I was taking a look at the Hellboy here. Yeah, I guess I could see a little hockey
Yeah,
puck
he's got the
there.
hockey pucks. Whatever.
Badly damaged.
Well, it's because he files his horns down. You have to
Mhm.
fit in.
Mhm.
You
Don't
know.
we all?
yeah, because that helps him fit in.
Yeah.
He's
Right,
basically
absolutely.
invisible after that.
Right. Yeah. Nobody knows. Nobody notices. And then now she's hiding.
Couldn't help it. Yeah, right. Didn't even try.
Nick Talkin says, be sure to like, share, and subscribe this to support independent comic creators. Thank you, sir. Yes, if you are watching this, please hit that like button. And Donna Carlene says, monkey balls. Did that go with monkey meat? Yes! Yes!
They're not just for
It's over there
breakfast anymore.
somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. And then Sarah says, there's a
2
side
days to
order
find
of
it,
that.
Eric.
Rick Bradley, hello, sir. He says, good evening, all. And Damien apparently thinks you're gross, sir. I'm sorry that is that's happened to you. I don't think you're gross, Rick. Just know that. Sarah's now laughing at Damien. And Carl says, hey, Rick. Rick says, evening, all. And everyone's saying hello to each other. Rick says, since I'm late to the party, this might have been asked. Is there a tool or program that someone raved about to help with writing or drawing that you absolutely hated?
Yes. Photoshop.
Yes.
Photoshop. I
Thank-
100% hate Photoshop.
100% hate Photoshop.
People
I
like
love
rave about that
Photoshop with all
program.
my heart.
It's like you have to get a degree just to use the friggin' program, and then you can get Clip
One better.
Studio and just use it. It's so
I
easy.
got
One
a
better.
degree in using
better.
Photoshop, and I still don't use it because it's
I hate
Joe-
Photoshop.
Joe, what do you got?
Illustrator.
Yeah, same thing. That's
Oh,
a horrible.
I've never
program.
messed with that.
Illustrator is like I was told to. It's like don't ink in Photoshop. Use Illustrator. Don't letter in Photoshop. Use Illustrator. You get much cleaner stuff in those programs.
Well, it's just vector versus pixel based. Like,
But it's not
Yeah.
necessarily better because when
No,
it
no,
sends
no, I'm
stuff
just-
out to
yeah.
to colorists, your lines are not natural. Did you have this setting in Illustrator set? Yes. Did you have this set? Yes. Did you have that set? Yes.
Yeah, like why do you got to do
I
all
gotta
that?
go back and fix all the
Yeah.
stuff that you did.
That's so annoying. Yeah, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it'll look great if you do these 12 steps that you won't have to do if you do Clip Studio or Manga Studio.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So much better.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Tools
Open
that they
Office.
hated?
I grew to hate Open Office, which is an open source version of MS Word. The problem was, after I don't know if they fixed it or not because I haven't used it in about 5 years, but it would insert characters into your writing. And it's like you put, like, for instance, a copyright symbol, which is the C inside the big circle. You put that in there and you look at the screen. It has the C with the big circle. And then you like upload it to Amazon and suddenly it is this, I think John Carter read it on Mars from Deja Taurus. It's this little scribble that I have no idea what language it's supposed to be in, but it's not the little C in the circle that I crave.
Yeah.
And so after a while, I just went back to MS Word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
sometimes
their way of-
sometimes the open source things are it comes with pros and cons.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it's this big giant sandbox and you throw everybody in there and just say go nuts. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's awesome and then other times it's just insane. I hate it.
Yeah, until then I was a big fan of it, but now I just stick
Yeah.
with MS Word. I'm perfectly happy with that.
Eric, what about you?
I love Photoshop.
You love Photoshop.
I
oh.
love Photoshop with a passion, but
Oh,
I
no.
will not letter in Photoshop because it sucks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I use Clip Studio for lettering because it's just so easy. I mean, you draw your balloon, your tail, boom, right in the middle.
Now,
you're
question
good.
with Photoshop: did you have did you know how to use it going into it, or did you have to teach
No,
yourself?
I taught myself how to use it probably a decade ago
Okay, so you're just smarter than us. Gotcha.
with a
Pretty much, yeah.
Eastern European bootleg version. So
I like it.
No,
I like
I
it.
took the prerequisite primer for Photoshop, which was
Okay.
PaintShop
Yeah.
Pro. If you know how to use
Gotcha.
PaintShop Pro, you could figure your stuff out in Photoshop because it was almost
Yeah.
like a 1-to-1 translation. If you remember PaintShop
Well,
Pro.
I know the Clip Studio EX Pro is very similar to Photoshop. Like we use Photoshop for a few things. Robin does Photoshop better than I do, but a lot of it carries over since they updated from Manga Studios to Clip Studio. A lot of it carried over. There's a lot of similarities with Photoshop now. But
Still
the
can't
only
I still
tool,
can't do lettering in Clip Studio. I
yeah,
still
really
can't.
the only tool that I really hate is Chad. Nick Tucker says
Good one,
watching.
good one.
Yes, thank you. Watching the artist's micro expressions while Jody described his method of dealing with artists is delightful. I noticed that too, Nick.
Yeah, a lot of RBFs being thrown
Yeah,
through
all
here.
of us were just like, "Don't scowl, don't scowl." Oh
And that's
man,
why I said a lot. I
Oh,
work
yeah.
very well with
Yeah.
a lot
Good
of
for you.
artists because of that. Because I have actually experienced the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And with all these different pro-am projects, it's like I used to do a lot of projects with Wonder Funders, and Wonder Funders used to bring in professionals and amateurs together to do all these different anthologies.
Nice.
Not only did I do lettering for them, I actually did editing as well as wrote. I never drew, but I pretty much wrote, and edit.
Yeah.
And my experience there, I had some horrific experience, and I was like, never again.
Yeah, well, Nick goes on to say, he said, I fully understand. It is really challenging to design a game that functions because the math has to be balanced. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you, like I said, like I wouldn't do the same process if I were working with someone else because that's just frustrating. Like whoever's in charge is the leader of the ship in that direction, and you have to be able to communicate well to create a good book. And Nick then says, and sometimes folks can't think in terms of that. Collaboration is challenging. Yeah, it absolutely can be. Very much so. Rick says, also, sorry I'm late. I've been delving into the lore of Warhammer 40K pretty heavily. I've decided that at some point in time, I will have a story be published by Games Workshop Black Library. Very, very nice. Very nice. And Rick, we got to get you guys on the show here soon to talk about some gaming. And Nick says great goal. Or Nick says great goal, Rick. Carl says collaborating with an artist is much better or much easier for me than working with another writer on a book. Yeah, I've always wondered, like, how, and Brian, you can speak to this, I think, better than most. How do two writers work on the same novel and not hate each other?
Like angry cats?
Yeah, I feel like take about 3 cats, feed them raw sugar, and then put them in a burlap bag and shake it real hard. It's
like
like
I
that.
see these, like one of my favorite novel trilogies is The Strain, and it's written by Chuck Hogan and Guillermo del Toro, and I'm like, how do two people write one book? I can't get my mind around that.
They alternate they get one word each.
Yeah. It's funny because I was working with a writer, and we finally gave up the project because we were using his character, and he decided he wanted to be the only person to write it, which I said fine. But we were doing like a round robin thing where he would write a chapter, then I would write the next chapter, and then back and forth like that. And the thing is, we both have similar writing styles.
Yeah.
I have been in collaborations where one of us, and I'm not going to say which one I am, I'll let you fill that in yourselves, but one of us would be like, behold the light, how it shines through the window, how it mirrors the cracks in the and all that, and the other one's like, there's a window, it's open. The skill
was
level
yours,
is not
right?
quite at the same level. I see Joe's having flashbacks here. I paralyzed him. But no, and those I have been smart enough to get out of there before one of us murders the other.
Right.
But no, it's I don't collaborate frequently on writing for that reason, or unless I'm hired as a hired hand. And you give me the plot and give me the freedom to pace it at my own rate. And like I walked out on a project one time where I was to be brought in. It was going to be the publisher was going to help plot it with the artist, and they were going to do it Marvel style. The publisher would come up with the plot, the artist would draw it, and he was from Marvel, so it was going to be a genuine Marvel style. And then I would be given to me to do the dialogue, and then the publisher was telling me, well, I'm going to have the hero do this and this and this, and then he'd say, well, I'm going to have him do gotcha, and I'd say, well, here's a pun you could use there. Oh, no, you got to use my words. And eventually it's like, no, you need a transcriber, not a writer like me, because I'm going to try to like improve your words. Because that's my job. And he's like, oh, no, you have to
stupid words, and I'm going to make them
exactly. And put them and roll them all up and give you a precise location for their next insertion. So yeah, I left that project as quickly as I could.
Yeah, that sounds like a rough situation.
It was not a real happy one, and eventually, I think partly because the artist heard I was leaving, he left too. So,
nice.
Oh man.
So,
Nick goes on to say collaboration is not the same as commission, and that is, I think that's very, very, very true. Sarah is dozing off because Chad was talking, and then he stopped talking, and now she said, "Great show." Rick Bradley says all of Brian Rodman's personalities work well on comics. It's because I'm insane. Donna Carlene says a trill in background, level up. There we go. All right. Ted Davies says Jeremy did that very thing on Grim 101 Book 2 promo video. Great job, bro.
What is he referencing there?
I guess a video that you did for him.
That you did.
Yeah, promo video for
But maybe like how I was starting with music. Maybe that, or maybe that's how he handed me the music because that
you made a good video, Jeremy. That's what
you
he's
did.
saying.
You really did.
Okay.
And Ted Davies also appreciates the value of a good editor too.
Yes.
Ah, yes. There you go. Ryan Permission. Hey, buddy. Whoa, this is a full house. That it is. What's up, everyone? He says, very excited to explore Memoirs of an Angel soon, Rodman. Yes. Yes. Read it. Tell me what you think. Even if it's bad, I want to know. And everyone's saying hello to each. Thank you, Jeremy, for that vote of confidence. Ryan Permissive that says sharing is caring. Look at my social media. All I do is plug other indie creators. Always support indie creators. Absolutely. Thank you for that, sir. We cannot get enough of it for sure. Nicholas Anthony Tucker says programs that suck. Photoshop, OpenOffice. If I'm writing text only, I use MS Works RTF files.
Yep. RTF, that's the way to go.
Yep. And
Paint Pro.
Okay. There it is. Paint Shop Pro was great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember another one. It was Microsoft's, it was in Windows 10, Paint 3D.
Oh,
That was
weird.
like it took all the bad things about the original Paint and
put it in
them
three
in its own
dimensional.
little program. It was
Oh
a nightmare.
man.
I know they took it out with Windows 11.
Yeah. Carl says, yes, it was, Nick. I still use Coral's Paint Shop Pro, but it is different. Rick says, any night you want us on, let me know. I'm always ready to talk about gaming. We will get with you very soon, sir. Donna says, being married helped Brian, but he won't collaborate with me anymore.
I understand that. It's like when Cookie is editing my stuff, we have very well-defined roles. And it doesn't hurt that she is 99.9% of the time right, even when she's telling me, like with one book I did, is chapter 33 supposed to make sense?
Is that supposed to be in there?
Yeah.
Did you mean to delete that?
Yeah,
the worst
it's like,
thing ever.
did you take out all the good stuff by accident or something?
Is this a different book?
Yeah.
I
Did
thought
you
were
copy
talking about
paste
good
this
book,
from a
Brian.
different thing? Yeah. Oh gosh. Carl says, you know that you were not the problem, Donna. I love that we're seeing marriage counseling and works here.
Yeah.
Donna says, but you have to admit it's an awesome book, especially the sex scenes. There we go. All
Makes
right.
you wonder about the research, huh?
I'm not wondering at all.
Hold on, Dan. Let me write this down. Hold on.
Yeah, I was just saying Woodstock Dream, hashtag always promote. Nick Tucker says, so what programs, tools do you secretly love and wish to get more press?
Photoshop.
Honestly,
Oh, I
think-
have to make a correction. I said I've been working with
okay.
Photoshop for a decade. I did the
Yeah.
math in my head. It's been 3 decades.
Wow.
Whoa, you're
Yeah,
so
it's been a
old.
long time.
Yeah, so you got on the ship pretty early then. Like when it first came out, you were using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
All right,
it's,
then.
I think it's easier when you have something like Photoshop that you start, like it can get more complex, but it's easier for you having been there from the beginning. Like you see how all the layers add up on top of each other, whereas you could send somebody in there for the first time and they're like, what in the world is going on? That's one thing that I've noticed with Premiere for me, is that with each release I'm understanding like how they want the program to work, and that means all the difference for me. You know, I'm sure Clip Studio is awesome, but I would probably, you know, on top of the fact that I'm not, you know, a comic book creator, if I were to try to use that, I'm sure that I would have like, what in the world is this? You know, have no idea how to do anything with it.
I can't find the menus in Clip Studio half the time.
You know,
Yeah, I
Where'd
think
that go?
it's
Where'd that go?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like, and honestly, Clip Studio is frustrating with their updates because when they
Why is
update
everything
to
in
it-
millimeters? What's
Yeah,
going
it's
on
literally
here?
like when they do an update, it's almost like half the tools that were in one place are now gone, and you have to like go and like reconstruct the toolbar that you're used to, and that is frustrating. But I think it just come down to what you're comfortable with. I know what I wish tools would get more press, more credit are the Huion tablets and pens and stuff. They
I won't
are
hold up mine.
literally they're literally a fraction of the price. They're the fraction of the price of Wacom, and the sensitivity levels and everything. It's just so much better. And I'm saying that, and my pen just crapped out on me the other day. So like, I'm still promoting these guys because I got a good
You mean
4-year
that
run
pen?
out of this guy. This pen, yes,
That pen.
yep,
That pen?
right here.
That pen?
That pen? Oh, that's something else.
No, that's all
here's
pen,
my
Brian.
pen. Hey, here's it. The only thing I would say, and I'm not saying this just to disagree with Brian, although I love doing this. I had a Huion, and I could not get it to
It's Huion.
whatever it is.
Huion.
Huion.
Ours don't have this problem with our tools.
Yeah, pen, paper.
Man.
I could not get it to, and I can't think of the word. It's not collaborate. What is it
Huion.
when you
Connect?
Calibrate.
calibrate? Thank you. I could not get it to calibrate exactly, and so it was
Look,
like a millimeter.
it's not my
off.
fault that you aren't intelligent enough to
Shut
use
up.
it. I can't.
Shut up.
I can't.
All
help
I'm
it.
saying is
All right?
I spent the extra money for a Wacom, and it's 100 times better.
That's because you guys sugar mama.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do have a sugar mama, but at the
Exactly.
same time, I'm just gonna say it is worth spending the extra money.
How much did that cost you though?
I can't remember.
$7,000.
Yeah, I can't.
No,
say.
it was. I want to say it was over 1,000. It
Yeah.
was like
This was
How big is it?
This was $200.
Yeah,
Personal
I got the mobile one. It's
Yeah.
13. So.
Well, I have a 20-inch Huion right here that was $450.
But I would argue.
Now I will
that's
tell
what
you
you're getting,
the
is
colors are
$450.
slightly off. It's hard to calibrate the colors
exactly.
perfectly on the Huions.
Yeah.
The older ones. Mine's almost 4 years old now.
I was just saying mine. I love mine. I've never had a problem with the tablet at all. The sensitivity is great. Colors are great, and I know how to properly operate drivers, unlike Ted or Chad. So
I mean,
there's that.
With
Did you just slam Ted for no reason?
I did. I didn't mean to. I think look, it was by association. He loves Chad so much. I had to bring him down with him.
He'll be down here soon. I'll come for you.
With such simplistic art, a Huion is perfect for you, so it's no problem.
Wait.
Well done.
Who's he talking about first?
I think he's
All of you.
Definitely Brian Rodman, but
Not me.
I'll throw the rest of you
Chad's like, all y'all suck.
in there.
He's like, you see
Just
this art
Brian.
behind me?
Just
You see this
Brian.
art behind me? This is the pinnacle of greatness.
Hey, Ted.
Too bad he
Ted,
doesn't have a
Ted.
great writer behind it.
Oh,
Ted's
that's
promoting
true.
his
I
Cintiq
agree,
right
Joe.
down there.
There you
I
go.
like Joe better than all y'all. Well, no, I kind of like Jeremy too. He's pretty good. Damien, I like too. Eric, I'm still undecided because he likes Photoshop. BKM is the legend, but Brian's
Thank
the
you.
worst. So
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
And he smells
again,
fun.
nobody cares what Chad thinks. So Ted, BKM is a great editor, and his make good words.
I'll be sending you the corrected copy later, Ted.
I think he just fell asleep
bring more
typing
coffee.
it.
I think he did. Yeah. Everybody
Yeah,
was
just
falling
like the
asleep
whole
tonight.
thing about Donna
Yeah.
to Fiona.
Nick says I love the Infinite Painter app for Android, Paint.net, and I am
Paint.net,
learning.
yes.
Yeah, and I am learning Krita.
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 Oh no,
Okay.
that's Krita. There's
Krita.
another
Yeah, I don't know
one
how to
out there.
pronounce
What's
that.
the other one? A lot of the Apple people use.
Oh yeah. I cannot
happening?
remember. Yeah, but Krita is like a free utility you can put on your PC and all. Another one I would put in that I like is Scrivener's as a writer. It does a limited amount of formatting, but it can export in just about any format that you need. And it's great because you can also store your research in there too and use it like even videos and such offline.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a great outlining system, although MS Word is kind of adapting itself to be more like it. So probably about a year or two, it'll probably pass it up, I think.
Procreate on Apple. That's what a lot of people.
Oh,
use.
that's it.
Procreate.
Yeah,
That's
a
what
lot
I
of
was
people love it.
thinking of.
I haven't used it, but a lot of people do.
I
love
would
it.
like to try it out. Honestly, I would.
I've seen a lot of good stuff made.
Oh, yeah.
through Procreate.
Rick Bradley says everyone's showing their pins. I was waiting for Brian to have one of those with the naked lady in the black bar that goes up and down.
I don't think he's referring to Mr. Rodman on this one.
I don't think he
I've got
is
one
either,
around
yeah.
here somewhere. I've got like a tackle box full of pins that I've stolen. I mean, acquired over the years.
Oh,
And
right,
so
right.
I probably have one in there.
Oh, Donna says I've been in his house, Rick. He does have one.
Yes, she has. She
Oh,
was against the Kalicon.
I have an
Ted
I have an
Davies.
app. Whenever you're done.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's great.
That's nice.
Ted Davies says 16-inch Cintiq, baby.
Nice,
And Rick
Ted.
Bradley
I use-
says, I do too somewhere around here, Donna.
Okay.
And Jeremy, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, so you guys were talking about apps, and while I know of the apps that you guys are using, I don't use any of them personally. But if you're doing any sort of audio recording, any sort of like post-production at all, Auphonic is an app that I found out about. It's AUPHONIC. I think you pay, there's a one-time fee that you pay, and then you get 2 hours free, and you can pay for more, like 2 hours free per month, and you can pay for more. But basically, you put any audio in that you have recorded, and you hit you set it to whatever your broadcast standard is that you want to hit. And if you don't know about that and you're making audio recordings, you need to learn about it because it matters. That's where you get, if you're playing a podcast or you're going from like one song to another song and there's a difference in volume, it's because they're not following the broadcast standards. They're just like hitting export and then upload. So you put in the file and you put in your broadcast standard and you hit go. It's literally magic. It reduces hum and noise in the background. It is a leveler. So if there's, dynamic shifts in your speaking, it'll level that out. If you have multiple people speaking, like on a podcast, so say we were recording this over Zoom and I exported all the audio tracks rather than just like one single one, you can feed all of that into Auphonic and it'll take it and lower the volume of each person's channel when they're not speaking. Like it can sense when you're not speaking and make those adjustments. So then it exports as a project file and you don't have to go in and take the audio and dip it down and then bring it back up and things like that. It's magic. I don't know how it works. I really don't. But I can put in some of the noisiest audio that I've ever recorded and just hit go and it's fixed on the other end. No
That's
idea.
awesome.
Is there a setting where it'll turn Brian Rodman down every time?
Yeah.
you talk?
There's a button specifically for that.
There's also a clip. I don't know if you still have it, Jeremy, of me from the first season.
Yeah, that noise. It's somewhere on my computer.
Oh gosh,
When I
was
used
so
to-
funny.
When I used to edit podcasts, I had a library of like, I don't know, close to 1,000 audio clips of just like sounds that people make with no context.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating when people, the ums and like it ends up, it's like the Ozzy Osbourne syndrome where he's like people make those noises and they don't even think about it. But when I've got my eyes closed, just listening to the audio, I'm hearing all these things. It's like, what are you doing? And so I had a big collection. It was great.
Well, one thing about Auphonic, I believe a number of writers use that when they construct their own audiobooks.
Oh yeah,
because of the
It would be
leveling.
perfect.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that writers can use. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So you
And,
are familiar with
Mhm.
Auphonic? Yeah.
I've never
it's
used it,
great.
but I am familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Well,
goes on
and
every file that I ever
and we
used.
all know that Jeremy absolutely loves his euphonics, don't you, Jeremy? Yeah, you do. Good job. All right, and now, folks, it is time for the final word. We're gonna go around all starting with Jeremy, and then go around Jeremy, Joe, Eric, Brian, Damian, Chad, and myself. Everybody, really quick, say what is the best creative advice you've been given? Jeremy.
Watch YouTube more.
All right. Joe.
Never quit.
Eric.
Practice sequentials.
Good one.
Brian.
Jim Lee.
Yes.
Nice.
100%.
Never stop learning.
Damian.
Don't stop believing. No joke. Seriously.
Don't stop
See, very dull in that.
believing.
Believe
Indeed.
yourself.
Chad.
Consistency is a key to success. Create every day.
That's good. And mine has pretty much already been said, but never, ever, ever, ever give up.
Never surrender.
Indeed. Never give up. Never surrender.
Never let them see us sweat.
and
No.
and sir,
always be like
Hey,
what
Dylan.
you says.
Yeah.
Never
Boom.
let them see you hurt and always have
Boom
an escape
today.
boom dot today to you too, sir. And Rick says, everyone take care and stay creative. Ted Davies says, great show, guys. Thank you all for
Thank you,
being
Ted.
here in the comments section. And thank you guys for showing up, especially a little bit of short notice. I appreciate you guys being here. One last time, we're going to go around the room. Everybody say how great you are and where we can find your work and how we can get a hold of you. Jeremy, where are you currently?
In
right
my
now?
basement with all my stuff. And that's where you can find my work is down here, where I make videos for people for the internets.
Cool. Do you have a website at all?
Yeah, it is
In my basement.com?
is thesilencecomics.com.
Yes.
You can find all of my work
Yes.
there.
Hashtag
Excellent.
always promote.
Boom.
Nice.
All right. Joe, how about you, man?
Oh, like I said at the very beginning, now I'm going to give you where you can get those great pills. You can always get those great pills at Walmart.
I love those great pills. They're great.
But if you really want to keep up with me, if you don't follow from the Desolate Small Press Publisher, just go right here to that link tree. It has everything that I do there, all the links and everything right there. The link tree /Silvo. Can't miss it.
Awesome. Eric.
Hey, any social media you can find me, just look up Eric Hawkins, you'll find me. Kickstarter, April 8th, I'll be launching Zombieful World of Oz #4, and I'll be launching the pre-launch page probably in a week. So you can sign up for that, and I want to get at least 100 people sign up because I want to go over 200 backers this time. I was so close last time. Combined with Indiegogo, it was over, but I want over 200 on Kickstarter alone.
Excellent. BKM.
You can find everything I do at www.risingtide.pub. You'll find a link to my Patreon page from there, my broadcasting that I do on YouTube and Facebook. You can find me mostly on Facebook, a little bit on Twitter these days. I do an exclusive blog on Patreon, so please check that out. And thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here, sir. Young Chadwick.
Yes, you can find everything.
And that's enough from
that
Chad.
I
I'm
do.
Brian. And go ahead, buddy. I love you.
You can find everything that I do at jeremywoodring.com.
Oh. Jeremy'sBasement.biz.
Yes.
No, I'm Brian Rodman. You can find me at brianrodman.com. All my shenanigans are there, including social media, Patreon page, and a bunch of comics. It's a lot of fun.
Did we get
I'm
D-Dubs?
also-
Yeah, did you skip someone?
You
Did
did.
D-Dubs? You missed
No,
D-Dubs.
he doesn't get. I was giving him the last word. Chill out. It's okay.
Yeah,
right.
It's not easy running
Yeah,
these
right.
things, is it?
Everyone.
Yeah, man, everybody's a critic. Well, fine. Nobody cares about the Brian anymore. Damien, go ahead.
See this? Watch this. Scan that. Scan that right now with your phone. RUOmniversal.com. That's where I am at. Scan that, and you'll see more of this.
It went away.
Yeah, I was getting my phone.
I'm getting
out.
my phone,
Yeah.
but I have to pull it off the wall.
We don't. What?
Speaking of off the wall,
You did it.
I got it.
It's an
All right.
old person's joke.
All right.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Very much looking forward to having our next From the Desk of the Dastardly Spectrum. And we will see you all again in the morning on Nevermind the Furthermore with this guy, Brian
At 9 a.m.
Morris.
We're having a special episode with
Ooh,
two
9
buddies
a.m..
of mine, and we're starting an hour early. So please come see us at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. We'll make it worth your while.
All right.
And
Sweet.
Brian, don't
Thanks
forget about
for-
your Patreon because that's important.
Oh, Right. Go to my Patreon. There I have a very special comic. I'm teaming up with my nieces, and we're doing a comic called Princess Warriors. It's a lot of fun. Right now we have 4 entries out, and it's the story's just getting a little juicy. So definitely go check that out this
we
week.
all read.
Patreon.com/Brian Rodman. And again, in the comments section, thank you all so much for showing up, being very active in the comments. We love you all. We appreciate you. And we can't wait to see you next week. Next week, Chad, what we got going on? We got a movie review next week or something?
Yeah, I think since we're going to see the Batman movie this weekend, we should review that.
Oh, yeah, I think we should. Yes. So, all right. Well, guys, thank you all once more, and hit like, hit that bell, be notified whenever we have a new episode. And as always, have fun, be safe, don't do drugs, and if you do, call Chad. You all have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next week.